Good afternoon, Dr. Orji. Good afternoon, classmates. It is my first time to make a video presentation like this, so please bear with me. Today, I am tasked to present to you the different uses of comparative education. As we have learned from the previous topics that had been discussed, comparative education is defined as a fully established academic field of study that examines education in one country or group of countries by using data and insights drawn from the practices and situation in another country or countries. This field is supported by many projects associated with UNESCO or the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization and national education ministries of various nations. And in the history of comparative education, Marc Antoine Julian de Paris is commonly referred to as the father of comparative education. The bottom line here is, why do we need to study comparative education? Natanong niyo na po ba yung sarili ninyo? Bakit natin kailangang pag-aralan ito? Or bakit kailangan nating mag-compare where in fact, iniiwasan natin ang pagko-compare? As we go on with this presentation, we will learn some of its uses and purposes briefly. There are various reasons why comparative education should be studied by prospective teachers and reformers of education in any country of the world. So here are some reasons why do we need to study comparative education. First is description. This is the most basic utility of comparative education, to describe education systems within their societal context in order to satisfy the yearning for knowledge, which is part of human nature. And this knowledge or information would be a great help for us to understand their education system better and that of others with the intention of improving and even solving problems. The second use of comparative education is to facilitate educational assessment or evaluation. Comparative education enhances evaluation of educational outcomes by showing us how we are performing in a particular area of education compared to other countries, and this evaluation ideally should go beyond performance in national examinations. For example, the very controversial result of PISA or the International Program for the Assessment of Student Achievement. This universal evaluation entails how well the education systems of the world rise to the challenges of the 21st century world and Education 4.0 or the Fourth Industrial Revolution in education. The third use of comparative education is to facilitate planning of educational programs, curricula, teaching methods, and activities. Studying case studies on various educational systems can facilitate educational planning, both at national level as well as in the classroom. Before educational policies are made, policymakers need to evaluate the anticipated consequences of the policy as well as identify possible restrictions. Studies of educational systems that share similar problems or those that have formulated policies to overcome similar problems provide information for learning the possible consequences. There are various case studies that we can serve from the internet, and from that, our policymakers and even us, teachers, can adapt and modify it for the benefit or advancement of our learners. Next is humanitarian viewpoint. This is branded as the original source of inspiration and remains as the noble cause in comparative education. Serving and improving the state of humanity is in the current age of globalization more urgent than ever by nurturing a global citizen equipped with creative, critical, and caring mindset. The current world is characterized by increasing problems that are affecting the human population in various ways. As we are experiencing now, wherein many parts of the world are or have recently been affected by the COVID-19 pandemic. We need to cooperate in order to create better and safer world. Therefore, the knowledge of each other education system is necessary and can better be acquired through comparative education. We're down to last two uses of comparative education that I have researched. the educational borrowing. In this instance, comparative education is used to obtain solutions to problems that we are facing. Many educational questions can be examined from an international perspective. For example, as the coronavirus spreads across the country, states and localities are facing mounting pressures to close school doors. The COVID-19 outbreak immobilized the classes, but through seeing the different interventions made by other countries, the Department of Education have adopted some of it and didn't see COVID-19 as a barrier to paralyze learning. It has been possible to make a platform that is designed as alternative mode for teaching learning process at times like this. Last but not the least, innovation in education. There are many innovations which are being introduced to education today. The development of technology has facilitated new methods of organizing learning. For example, the use of digital procedures to deliver knowledge, use of other aspects of the media, open university, virtual learning, and computer-assisted distance learning has been introduced to education. All these have facilitated education in a comparative context. Just like the launching of DepEd Commons as online study platform, wherein our learners can still be able to continue learning. We have yearned for this time when suspension of classes will not in any way impede and delay the delivery of learning. Kidding aside, COVID-19 lang pala ang makakapagpabago at makakapagbigay ng solusyon. That's it. And to sum it up, comparative education is used to, first, to describe educational systems, processes, or outcomes. Second, to assist in the development of educational institution and practices. Third, to highlight the relationships between education and society. Fourth, to establish generalized statements about education that are valid in more than one country. And lastly, to help the current generation understand the present education systems with reference to the past. Thank you for listening. I hope you learned something from it. Mag-ingat po tayong lahat.